you all for coming. We are so pleased to have so many Korean art enthusiasts here. My name is Anne Rose Kitagawa. I'm the Chief Curator of Collections in Asian Art here at the Jordan Schnitzer Museum of Art. And this is a museum that was founded by a woman named Gertrude Bass Warner, who had traveled from the United States to China and fallen in love with Asian art and brought back 3,800 works of Asian art to the United States and began negotiating with the University of Oregon in order to build this museum. So our museum was founded as a museum of Asian art, which makes us unique in the United States. And moreover, our founder was really quite utopian in her worldview. She experienced a great deal of strife in Asia, and she thought that the only way that the world would prosper is through cross-cultural understanding. And so this museum was founded with the hope that by teaching students and the community in Oregon about the wonders and wisdom of Asia, that people would get to know each other better and respect one another. Our galleries upstairs, we still have permanent galleries devoted to Chinese, Korean, and Japanese art. We were actually the first museum, academic museum in the United States to have permanently endowed galleries of Korean art. And right now there's a beautiful show called Capital and Countryside, which has an entire room filled with art by women artists, because this is the 50th anniversary of the University of Oregon's Women's Studies program. And we have 5 exhibitions up of women artists. And in fact, a number of the artists on the faculty who co-curated a wonderful show upstairs are here in the audience with us. So it's a great moment for women artists in our museum. I don't think there's ever been more art by women on the walls of this museum. And if you look in our most recent members magazine, you will see a write-up about the work of art that we will be focusing on today, a work by this respected artist, Ahn Seongmin, who will be speaking to us today about her life and her work. And I was very pleased that I was able to acquire a work of art by her for this museum that I will speak about in a moment. But first, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. The University of Oregon is located on Kalapuya Ilihi, the traditional homelands of the Kalapuya people. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. Today, descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon, the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians of Oregon, and continue to make important contributions in their communities at UO, across the land we now refer to as Oregon, and around the world. We express our respect for all federally recognized tribal nations of Oregon. This includes the Burns Paiute tribe, the Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw Indians, the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon, the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon, the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, the Coquille Indian Tribe, the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribes of Indians, and the Klamath Tribes. We also express our respect for all other displaced indigenous peoples who call Oregon home. So, in 2018, I had the privilege of acquiring for this museum this wonderful and peculiarly titled work of art, Aphrodisiac 10, by Ahn Seongmin. And I saw this in New York during Asia Week and was immediately enchanted. As you can see, it has a delicious looking bowl of noodles. However, in the bowl, there rise up a number of mountain peaks. And a tendril of noodles comes out of the bowl and looks a little bit like water. So an enigmatic, fascinating, beautifully painted work of art. In the Minhwa tradition, so a Korean folk painting, but clearly a very contemporary Korean folk painting, and by an artist who I was completely infatuated with. Last year, during Asia Week, there was a special exhibition at the Korea Society in New York, and there was an opportunity to view a number of works by Ahn. It was a one-woman exhibition, and this was the centerpiece of the show. So this is, I don't want to say it's your most ambitious work, but it is an incredibly ambitious work that we had to have for this museum. It's beautiful. You'll get to see it as the artist intended at the end of this presentation. Again, a minhwa painting, but it draws from a couple of traditional themes. So there are a few themes that it draws from. One are chaekgeori, or chaekgeori-do, scholars' accouterment paintings. A second are the true view landscape painting tradition, or jingyeong sansuhwa. And in particular, within true views, there is a tradition of showing images of a particularly sacred set of mountains, now known in English as the Diamond Mountains, Kumgan-san. And Kumgan-sando is specifically the genre that we have. So scholars' accoutrement paintings. Our museum happens to have a chaekgeori painting. It shows piles of scholars' accoutrements, books bound together, beautiful antiquities and flowers and plants, all with symbolic associations. Likewise, for the true view landscape, particularly of the Diamond Mountains, our museum is blessed to have a really remarkable Joseon-dynasty 19th century example by an artist named Shin Ha-kwon that shows the complete view of the Diamond Mountains. So you can imagine why I felt like we needed this work of art in the worst way, because as a curator, we're always looking at things together, and this is a wonderful contemporary version that combines those two genres, but has so much more going on behind the scenes. It's beautifully painted. It is definitely within the minhwa tradition, but it is unflinchingly contemporary and conceptual as well. And I'm so pleased that this painting will go on view as the centerpiece of a special exhibition that is being planned right now by Soo-jin Jung, who is our postgraduate fellow in East Asian art, and Ga-yeon Lee, our Korea Foundation Global Challengers Museum intern. So with that, I'd like to hand the mic over to them.
Good evening. My name is Soo-jin Jung, and I'm a postgraduate creature fellow in East Asian art here at JSMA. And before our professor Seongmin Ahn gives her talk tonight, I'd like to introduce her career as an artist and the upcoming Korean art exhibition that will feature the Mindscape, which will be on a special view within Black Lives Tonight. So Seongmin Ahn graduated BFA and MFA programs at Seoul National University in Korea, and she majored in Asian traditional painting at the time. She also completed the MFA program at the Maryland Institute College of Art after moving to the States in 1998. She also has exhibited her work at major venues in New York and Seoul, including the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, the Korean Cultural Center, and the Carlos Wang Center at Stony Brook University. And of course, the Jordan Tradition Museum of Art at University of Oregon here. And she also has received a number of funding awards, including 2 Paula Kressner Foundation grants, AHL Foundation grant, and Cafe Loyal Culture Foundation grant as well. Her work has been acquired by the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Seoul, Princeton University Art Museum, Hudson River Museum, and of course the Jordan Tradition Museum of Art at University of Oregon. She currently teaches in the Department of Studio Art at Queens College in New York, and also lives and works in Brooklyn. Last but not least, one of her hallmark artworks, the Mindscape, will be showcased at the upcoming Korean exhibition, Landscape Mindscape, Portraits of Nature and the World from Korea and Beyond, 1700 to 2020, which will open on June 8th here at the museum soon. It will feature a broad scope of works that depict nature and the world through incorporating methods, aesthetics, and ideas derived from Korea and beyond from the 18th century through the present. And it will be co-curated by the JSMA and Korea Foundation intern Ga-yeon Lee and also myself. So now please welcome the artist Seongmin Ahn with your class. Thank you.
Hello all, and first of all, thank you all for coming, and also really appreciate all of the efforts that to bring me here, and thank you Rose for finding me and recognizing me, and really be front and center to guide this piece. And thank you Sujin for all those meticulous coordination and all the staffs and donors, and most of all our audiences to make this effort really truly meaningful in the end. I'm really happy to be part of this effort to make our culture diverse and rich. And I'd like to talk a little bit about my personal and professional history, as it will be helpful to understand where my work came from. So I was born and raised in South Korea. I was hardcore trained under that rigorous Korean education system, and trained very traditional. No, first hardcore trained in paintings and drawings of European tradition throughout my art specialized middle school and high school, and to pass the entrance exam for college. And then I majored in Asian traditional painting, got BFA and MFA there, and came to US, enrolled myself in another multidisciplinary art program here in Baltimore, and then moved to New York, and ever since I've been working and living for 25 years in New York. So along with my bicultural background, I also have diverse educational background. So I kind of hop around in terms of art forms. First, I worked on gestural expressionism with brushwork, and then minimalist conceptual installations like this one, and then went back to Korean traditional painting, especially polychrome painting tradition. And then at one point I've been actively reflecting a recent trend. I've been incorporating digital means and technologies and commercial materials to expand my capacity as an artist, and also the capacity of the painting itself. Like combining all of this with the diverse educational background and my immigration history and the struggles that came with it, really contributed to shape myself as an artist, and my artwork really contributed my diverse practice. So that being said, like Mindscape is one of the one of the culmination of my past decades of the painting practice, and it has such multiple layers of cultural and historical references, and refined techniques, conceptual aspect, and philosophies, and my own personal narratives as well. So I want to sort of focus on threefold: representation of mountains in my paintings, and reverse perspective, and technologies, and some other aspects that I want to share with you. So by introducing my other paintings, which are related to each other. So one on the left is very similar to Aphrodisiac here. So when hearing the title Aphrodisiac, people kind of laugh at it. It's looking kind of poetic, and then it's given that wild and raw title. So when I discussed about the title with my native speaker journalist friend, I learned it has also implication of excitement. So I wanted to extend that meaning into spiritual excitement in my painting. So my mountains in Aphrodisia represent a primordial nature that provokes excitement and spiritual awakening. So I wanted to think about the deep connection between physical fulfillment, how like the physical excitement, and I wanted to make connection between I think about how the nature can inspire us physically and spiritually at the same time. That making the connection between physical pleasure and spiritual fulfillment as well. And one on the right is called the evolutionary impulse. And in this case, mountain represents myself. So it represents my own impulse of growing and thriving in the Western environment, which was represented by this Victorian style teacup. And I wanted to use this specific era, the teacup from this specific era, the Victorian times, or specifically gave foundations for European imperialism. So I wanted to use this specific time. And actually, I've been researching about this teacup, and then I couldn't find anyone specifically from Victorian time. And then I found that teacup from a flea market in my neighbor, and so I just fell in love with this teacup. So I just used that. I thought it's enough to represent my idea. And in terms of the references of the mountains, I'm using direct references from old paintings and some little pieces or actual objects that resembles mountain forms, and really combining all of these practice and references, I end up with creating my own mountain styles with my own brushworks. And it's an installation view from 2020, and this is another piece in the same show in 2020. So this work is called Qualist, subtitled as Love Story. In this piece, mountain represents masculinity, while peony represents femininity. So they are merged and synthesized and growing together out of this rock of scholars, rock of fantasy, which also serves as an entrance to this bourgeois, to sort of landscape object, and it's sort of this landscape that peonies and mountains are making together. I present this as an object and landscape at the same time. So in this installation, painting installation, mountains coming out of or escaping from this old book formation represent pieces of thought which trying to liberating themselves. And it's the same piece installed in a larger world, which I like even more with the notion of emptiness. And finally, speaking about the representation of mountain in the Mindscape, it represents sort of unknown, mysterious impulse from my subconscious. So I don't want to define this as any specific meaning. I want to leave it open-ended, but it's a force and energy or passion that drives my life. And as you can see, there's continental shift happening in the bookcase, and then this mindscape emerges from within. And I want to talk about the reverse perspective in the painting. So this is old references, another chaekgeori Minha painting. And as you can see in details, the front of the object is smaller and it gets larger toward the back. And I couldn't find any old written materials to articulate about why this was painted this way, but I could find modern interpretation by Korean scholars. And among those, what Oh Jusuk wrote in a short essay really struck me. So he mentioned that in each different paintings, reverse perspective served in different ways, but fundamentally it is to give attention to what's painted in the painting instead of the painter. So painter's perspective looking at the object was not the priority, like a linear perspective, so they really tried to give the priority and how we can express the essence of the painting, the object inside or subject inside of the painting. And being inspired by this concept, I've been exploring the reverse perspective. So this is called Miraculous Drawer, and it's the painting that I used this reverse perspective idea first time. So as you can see, this Korean reverse perspective is not an opposite concept of linear perspective from Renaissance. Although I was playing with the vanishing point and place it in front of the picture plane. So as you can see, the front of the object is smaller and it gets larger on the back. And from like under this logic, when I open a drawer, the inside space gets infinitely larger. So you can understand this reverse perspective in two different ways. One from physical viewpoint, that I played with the vanishing point, and the other is the conceptual viewpoint, that how we look at the world and interpret and present in different ways. And I was inspired by Korean reverse perspective philosophically, and then conceptually inspired by Korean reverse perspective, and technically adopted and manipulated Western methodologies. And then I created this one called Its Inside is Bigger Than Its Outside. So in this work, I played with dualism by playing with the vanishing point location. So it depends on how you look at it, especially on the one on the left. You can see it as an object or space. And the title, Its Inside is Bigger Than Its Outside, is from a book, Chronicles of Narnia, as we all know what the book is about. So 4 children going into the world of Narnia through the wardrobe and explore this fantastic surrealistic world. So this word came out in the last book called The Last Battle. So for the children and their allies and friends were chased by enemies and were forced into the hut where they thought there was a monster that eats everything that comes in, but they had to go in. And then realized there's another world opening up. So at that point, one of their friends says, "Oh, it's inside. It's bigger than it's outside." So I was really happy to find that quote and use that as my title. And in the Narnia, the wardrobe and the hut serves as a portal to connect different words, and in my works, drawer serves as a portal. And that idea of portal keeps repeating in my works, in taking different forms, either descriptive or conceptual, more elaborated or simpler, and throughout my careers. And about this, I stated in my statement, saying seemingly two different words are finally interconnected together by the action of opening a drawer. So my work really talks a lot about coexistence and balance and connections of different words with different perspectives. So, and then that all being said, you can understand better about dual perspective that I used in Mindscape. So as you can see, it's a diagram with two vanishing points, one in front of the picture plane and the other the back of the picture plane. So because of this, there are a lot of diagonal lines converging toward two different vanishing points, and then it shapes, it forms these diamond shapes in between, which I call conceptual in-between space, which I also called it's a nexus that connects the two different words with two different perspectives. And the next is technology. Is it playing? Okay. It's very subtle, but it's changing the intensity of the light. So recent 5 years, I've been actively incorporating digital means and technologies and commercial materials to expand the capacity of painting, the two-dimensional static painting. So in this work, I used Arduino to program lightings. So this UV light programmed by Arduino beams lighter and darker. So as the intensity of this UV light fluctuates, so does the luminosity of fluorescent pigment as well. So from there, it creates very dramatic atmosphere, dramatic contrast between these two different areas painted with two different techniques and materials. And also it creates interesting dynamics and deepen the pictorial depth. And also creating interesting interplays between these two aspects. So through this, I really want to enhance viewers' experience with this pictorial depth and duration of time into two-dimensional static paintings and my storytelling as well. Okay, trying to go to the next slide. Okay. And lastly, about the Mindscape, I also adopted the curved space-time theory. So according to the curved space-time theory, space is not straight. So the space-time is curved around the massive objects with a huge gravity, like an Earth or planet. So the massive object really dictates and tells how the space curves, and space-time really tells how the massive object, how like the matter tells the space-time how to curve, and space-time tells matter how to move. So they're very close interconnection and interaction between these two objects, and it's not only these objects, it's like really everything in the world are closely interconnected and acting each other. And I borrowed this curved space-time theory to visualize my hyperdimensional imagination with the help of this luminous pigment of fluorescent paint. And as you can see here, around the mountain pieces and around the waterfalls, the waterway or this cloud patterns are bending around the mountain pieces and waterfalls. And the large piece is from different work, but I thought this exhibits more clearly about this curved space-time theory. And by doing this, I want to have like really expansion of thought into macro universal imagination in vast space. So I love physics and universe, so I really incorporate all of these ideas in my works for a long time. And I am going to share some other my paintings after that. So this is Minhwa Munjado, which is a letter painting. Again, same folk painting art forms. And this is usually 8 words that are valuable. It's 8 virtues from Confucianism. So, for example, there's fidelity, loyalties, and trust, and so on. So, being inspired by this, I made this again piece. So, excuse me. So this was my response to the pandemic. So this work is to give conviction that we can begin again, even though we went through a really hard time during the pandemic. So it was my second letter painting during the pandemic. So pandemic was an important time for me to begin a new body of work from different perspectives. So that was beginning of my public art and thinking more about audiences. And I really think about me being as an artist, how can I contribute to the community? And as an artist, because only the essential workers could go out, and then all of us other people had to stay. And as an artist, I was so not essential. So I was thinking, how can I be an essential community member with my visual languages? So I was thinking about like putting out messages, positive messages to the audiences. And I really realized how visual art can be really powerful tools and means to deliver the messages as well. So beginning from here, I wanted to say it clear and out loud. So I've been using different platforms, non-conventional platforms to share this message. So I used the billboard and vinyl cuts on the floor and words and window pieces, and people can see it from outside, daytime and nighttime. I really want to share this idea with general public. In terms of design, you cannot really see it well. Okay. So it's a hybrid design. For example, again, the English letter used Korean motif like dragons and clouds, and for Korean letters, I used Western ornamentation. So there's cross-cultural element to design this piece. And after that, I was commissioned by National Museum and Modern National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art Korea. So I was asked to create a contemporary letter painting piece with the words that was most meaningful to me, to a person in 21st century. So I chose this rise up in bilingual way because I am bilingual. By the time I and my teenage daughter were struggling a lot, I chose this word with a wish that myself and also my daughter really rise up from the struggle that she had and I had, and also extending this wish to my audiences as well. And the color combination of yellow and red is from 부적, which is Korean talisman. As you can see on the left, it's a red cinnabar on yellow rice paper. And I remember my mom used to bring one a year with different wish, and she asked me to carry that in my backpack and put it in my pillow, wishing all of different successes. So one that I was carrying in my backpack was for the academic success. So I guess that wish is sort of accomplished it because I went to one of the best schools in Korea, so it works. So with that wish, with the wish, like my mom, I really want to wish my audiences with the struggles can rise up from your own struggles. And this is another body of work. It's a vinyl installation. So through this work, I want to reinterpret frames. So when in terms of the frame, when it comes to frame, we framed precious artwork or precious thing or good memories. But in this case, in this work, I wanted to frame something else, like some values or concepts that we don't really think much. So for this object art, I want to give more attention to electrical switch and outlets to give attention to these valuable things that gives us power, which been often neglected by giving this elaborate gold designs around it. And I begin from like really brush drawings and then transform that into vinyl installation. And for this one, okay, I'm gonna skip it. It's another example of it. But I just want to share the image because I love it so much. It's a 17th century Italian frame, and I didn't change anything. I just like draw in my own way, brushwork with a brush. And this is called inverted frame. So it's a similar motif. But as you can see, the ornamentations usually locate outside of the frame. But now in this work, it's located along the inner edge. So I sort of inverted the location of it. By doing that, I want to frame the outside world, outside of the frame, which is basically the world that we live in. And of course, I used. I thought I had some detailed image of it. So I also used it's a hybrid design. As you can see, one in the center has the motif of plum blossoms. So I'm trying to like really bring some cross-cultural elements for my work. And this is another piece. I treat the window as a part of the frame, so to give more attention to everyday scene that we sort of neglect but looking through the windows all the time. And then I want to wrap up with my talk with these gun pieces, which were, this was 2015, and then I wanted to develop this gun painting series, but it took a long time for me to develop and create another one. So that was this one, and from 2023. Ironically, these gun paintings were censored by museums and galleries due to the sensitive issues around the gun. And they have all different reasons, and I also can understand the reasons. Not this specific one. I have gun pieces and some other piece called ornamented curls that use profanity, and both were censored because of this issues around it. And which motivated me even more to further develop these pieces, and I believe it's so much more meaningful to create, and I am applying for a lot of grant and fellowship to develop this work. And in this piece, the guns are actually the one that used to belong to dictators like Hitler's and Mussolini. And those guns are transforming into objects, natural objects with peaceful and friendly nature. So while I support for legal and social justice against gun violence and misuse power, this work propose a meaningful and philosophical and moral question to those who own the power but misuse it. And it's sort of a visual letter to them, urging them to change and transform. And it's the same message that giving to all of us, including me, as we all have certain kind of power. I have a power over my students, and some over my student, my child, and my pet. And how do you want to exercise that power? And I really want to suggest us to cultivate cultivate the culture with empathy, where we can find our own peaceful and friendly character in our ambivalent nature, because every moment we have this choice of what to do. So yeah, I think that's anything that I wanted to add for this piece. And there's a book that I was inspired by, which is called The Vegetarian by Han Kang, which got Man Booker Award, which is one of the most prominent literature award. And in this book, the female main character struggled so much because of what's going on outside of the world, and she was so really fragile and peaceful person, versus sort of not like really violent, but it's very patriarchal and some more forceful natures outside. And she decided to become vegetarian. But when I read the book, like the people who need to be vegetarians do not really care about being vegetarian or being peaceful. And like always the people with like right mind care about good things. So I thought it's really important for like all of us especially one who doesn't really care about what's going on, those are the one who really has to change. And one who has the power and misuse it, that one has to really change. So this work has such a meaning and message from me. Okay, and I think that that's about.
So would you entertain questions?
Yeah, absolutely. If there are any questions, I would love to answer.
Yeah, so we're going to have a Q&A session now. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. And of course, the professor will respond to those questions. Yes?
Thank you so very much for this beautiful presentation and sharing your works. This is, I think, something that really came out in your presentation, and maybe it was your through line and your point. But I was very struck by your sort of returning to the idea of change in a different way, starting from the idea of portal. That the reverse perspective, I thought, was a very interesting way to sort of manipulate shape and size, in addition to perspective, that when you go into the drawer, you become tiny and then you arise in the other side as being something big. And then with the metallic pigment, it was more a transformation, but in an equal space, because you're looking at the light transforming the same thing into something else. And then with the window and the billboard and the shadow, and ending with the metamorphosis. So I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about this idea of change, and perhaps how your thought on what is changing and how we as a viewer is engaging with change in your works.
Well, that's actually very mysterious for me as well. Why should I keep trying new things and keep changing and adapting new things? I actually don't have an answer why and how. I just get this idea, and there's so much inspirations out there, and I just can't miss anything. And along with this, I have a lot more that I didn't realize yet. So that keeps me really busy. I work 7 days a week, and which also makes me tired but happy at the same time. It's just, I think I'm just really open to all the possibilities, and life is short, and I want to do as much as I can. And how the viewers can be engaged with this change. That's also a very good question. As I also look at and think of some artists stick with one style and similar, making similar artworks for decades or for entire their life, and it's their style, their choice. I respect that, and they also can go deeper with one poem. But maybe it's not just my style. I just want to hop around, try different things, and my strength will be connecting all of these together and have all multi-elements for my work. So that sort of defines who I am, I guess. So I hope my audiences can understand and sort of follow that process as well.
Anyone else has questions?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for this presentation. Your work is really wonderful. One of the aspects that I found more fascinating was your ability to navigate different cultural influences. And so I was curious about how do you really do this process in terms of the legacy of Korean art, but also the influences of the West. If you can tell us a little bit more about the process of this navigation between different cultures, And this is the first question. And the second one is related to specifically this work, which I've seen is made in 2020. And so I was wondering also the impact of the pandemic on that work.
For the first question, I think it's my lived experience. I was born and raised in Korea and studied the traditional art forms under very disciplined circumstances, my school. And I also came to US and meet all of different artists and people using all different medias, including video artists and conceptual installation artists. So I'm getting like really inspired, being inspired by and absorbing all of this new experience that I have. It's just natural output of what I do and what I've been experiencing. And to answer the second question, yes, everything has its pros and cons. So for the pandemic, I kind of stopped the paintings like that, but it opened up new work, like again, in public work. And also at that time, we didn't really show, and no one was going to the gallery. So I went outside to like really share what I do. So a lot of those were either outside or some things can be seen from outside as well. So, and that opened up new possibilities for me. And in terms of this painting, my works are always spiral. And I sometimes take time and get mature of my thoughts and techniques, and then went back and pick up and develop again. Like this piece, it took me 6 years to get here again. So I'm gonna go back to those paintings with this pigment, florescent pigment again, and redevelop it more. Yeah. Yes, please.
I love your colors. So some of your paintings have mountains. What does mountains mean for you?
Mountains or balance? Mountains?
Mountains.
I've been spending quite time to talk about the mountains. So it has, on top of that, what I already said, mountains are very main subjects in Asian landscape painting. So since I've been really going through that rigorous and disciplined education, it also sits within me very deeply. So it's like my home as well. So I don't walk an outgoing mountain a lot, but it's just symbolically and psychologically and philosophically, I'm like really mountain person. And in Asian painting, mountain has such a deep meaning. There are a lot of scholars here who can talk about it better than me. So like being that as a main icon, my main subject, it just naturally sits within me. But I try to find my own way to create newer versions of mountains in my own way. Yes, please.
Thank you
Back
for
there,
your
please.
talk. I'm really curious about specifically your use of the blue light in your painting, and exactly what that process started like, because you said you started incorporating more technological aspects to your traditional work either 6 years ago, maybe immigrating to the US and discovering all these new art forms, but I'm just curious if you could talk more about what that process of slowly incorporating more I guess contemporary slash technology in your works.
So process of incorporating technologies,
Yeah.
right? I think it's part of my adventure, really trying new things, and also it's a new trend out there. incorporating digital means and technologies and interdisciplinary work is like really huge everywhere, not only in art, in every field, and culturally as well. So I think I'm just adapting, like really observing what's going on, and also trying to create my own version of it. And also, it's so like, and also, I believe I struggled a lot more than my other colleagues who went to the graduate school here together. As I went back to sort of Asian traditional paintings with these very kitsch images. So there, I felt there's a lot more barricades, and it was hard to break into the Chelsea new art world, contemporary art world. So that sort of thing, my passion and interest that I want to be successful in New York contemporary art scene really forced me to like observe and observing what's going on and how can I sort of fit in and break in while I keep my own tradition and what I value so much for decades and decades of my life. So my effort was to keep what I've been learning, what I've been loving, and then incorporating the technologies and new materials that speaks to me and my audiences as well. And in terms of more technical process, or for that Mindscape especially, I just love the fluorescent paint for a long time. I like to wear my t-shirts and shoes, sneakers with the fluorescent green. I love it, but I never used that color for this traditional painting because I kind of blamed my teachers always under that disciplined discourse. I was not supposed to use this and this and this. There's so many lists of it. Don't do this, don't do that. So that sort of confined me. So it took me a long time to be able to use fluorescent paint on rice paper, which is not really rice paper, it's a mulberry paper, and this traditional paper. So like I was more rebuilding myself, that what I wanted to do, what I love to do, but trying to find a way that fits together. Well, and for that Mindscape piece, so I finally began to use it, and it was very diluted thin way, and then it got saturated more thicker. That took a long time, few months, and at one point I realized that that color exaggerates with the black light. So, okay, can I use it? I've been asking around, do you think I can use it? Am I gonna be scolded by my old teacher in Korea that I never met for 20 years? And that's the process. I've been like really trying and pushing myself further and further, little bit one at a time. And then why don't I give like really time, really sense of physical time to the painting? Why don't I control the light? So that's all the process and trying to find the solution, technical support from there to realize my ideas.
So I think we're going to have one more question. Yes?
What advice would you give to young artists?
To young artists, it's a $1 million question. I need to go trip with you. It's very hard question, to be honest, as I have all mixed feeling of me being artist, because I went through a lot of difficult times, and There's a lot of realistic way. It's a very challenging work, but what was important for me was the passion and what I love, and I'm happy to do what I love, even though there's so much struggles behind it. So with there so much other means and values and professions that you can find, but if it doesn't make you truly happy, maybe that's not the way that you want to go. So like try to find what you want. If you like to do it, just enjoy and try to dirge into it and really put your own passion in it. So I guess hope that can be answered.